Welcome back to the channel. I'm out in the woods today and I'm trying something a little different. Normally I use my ultra-wide lens for landscapes, but this time I'm going to see if I can shoot some macro and close-up images with it. I'm using the 14-28mm macro lens, which actually has a really close focusing distance. So I'm curious just how far I can push it in a real woodland setting. It's going to be a bit of an experiment, so come along as I try to capture a few images and see what happens. The 14-28mm is a super interesting lens. Technically, it's an ultra-wide zoom and has macro capabilities. At 28mm, it has a 0.5 times magnification, and that's pretty close. But at 40mm, things get really interesting. The challenge here is that when you get that close, the front element can cast shadows onto the subject. And the composition becomes tricky as a lot of the background gets included. But that's what I love about this. It forces you to think differently. Okay, here is this cluster of mushrooms. I would normally use my macro lens or my telephoto lens and try to isolate it nicely from the surroundings. But this time I'm going to use my 14-28mm lens at around 18mm and try to get really close. I'm about 3-4 inches away from the subject, and you can see how much of the surrounding forest floor get into the frame. It's almost like a little macro or close-up landscape. I'm shooting in aperture priority mode. The aperture is set to f8, and because I'm so close to the subject, I still need to focus bracket this shot. Even though I'm at around 18-19mm focal length, it still doesn't give enough depth to get everything I wanted in the shot sharp. So let's see. The bracketing is going to be, that's a good settings. The step settings set to 2, about 30 images. Let's start the stack. So I'm starting to notice that wide-angle close-ups are less about isolating your subject and more about telling a story, showing the subject in its environment. And that's really rewarding in woodland photography. The Panasonic 14-28mm handles it really well. The distortion adds character if you use it carefully, and because it focuses so close, you can get some really immersive shots. This one worked really well. I like how the converging lines of the fallen tree leading up to the trees blurred in the background. Actually, if you don't want to take your camera out of your backpack every time you want to check a composition, then you can just use your mobile phone. These days, almost every mobile phone has an ultra-wide lens with a focal length ranging from somewhere between 13 to 16 millimeter. So it's perfect for the job. Well, this was a lot of fun. Shooting macro images with an ultra-wide lens, especially with the Panasonic 14-28mm macro, definitely pushes you creatively. You're not just looking at those tiny details anymore, you're thinking about how those details live within the scene. If you shoot woodland scenes, then please give this one a go. It's a great way to make the forest feel more immersive and alive. Let me know in the comments below what you think about these shots and if you tried this one before. And please don't forget to like, subscribe and hit the bell for more landscape, macro and woodlands adventures. See you on the next one, and may the light be with you all.